John, first and foremost, thank you so much for joining me today. You've given so much to the entrepreneurial space, especially to me. I think even some of your foundational lessons helped me get started and build where I am. So thank you for joining me today.
Doug, I am fired up to be here, brother. Thanks for having me.
So, in the opening of your book, I found it really powerful because you talk so much about finding your why and the journey you went on and the importance of, motivating people to find a fulfilling life. Do you mind sharing that story about how you found your why?
So it was a journey. I mean, I'm just a small town boy from Maine. I went to college on an Army scholarship. So after college, I spent 8 years as an officer in the U.S. Army and did a little 13-month tour of duty in Iraq during that time frame. And then I got out of the military and I spent 6 years of what I call struggle. It was 6 years of struggle. And, it was marked by me trying law school, dropping out, corporate finance, commercial real estate, like nothing was working for me. But at the end of those 6 years, as I entered into my 32nd year on this planet, I just started going all in, educating myself, reading the right books, listening to podcasts, and just really learning from others who had had success. And that just really led me to have this aha moment when I read these words by Albert Einstein, which was try not to become a person of success, but rather a person of value. And I said, whoa, that's a new concept. What if I did something of value in this world instead of just chasing success, which I thought I was supposed to be doing? And that planted the seed, Doug, that eventually led me to launching the first daily podcast interviewing entrepreneurs. And as you and I are talking now, 3,000 episodes have been recorded, over 100 million listens, over 1.1 million monthly listens of the show. And we're just getting started.
That's awesome. I mean, you have more reach in your podcast, I think, than most network television shows. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, you touched on something there. And when I thought about like designing the Happiness or Pursuit podcast, one of the first things was find your passion. The second, taking action. To start a podcast that's daily, like when you first started, you might not have known, but just even doing a weekly one's insane. How and where did you get that idea or that passion to just take action, take the leap and get started?
The alternative was, what am I going to do? Continue being broke, continue living paycheck to paycheck, continuing to do what I don't want to do every day, continuing to live a life that's less than I know that I'm capable of, that's under my potential. And like, that was my two choices. It was like, am I going to go all in and try to build my dream business, or am I going to just continue to live this lackluster life? And it was really, both were hard choices. It was going to be really hard to grow my dream business, just like it was going to be really hard to continue to live a pretty crappy life. And I just chose my heart and I went all in.
What would you have to say to people that have a side hustle, but they also have a really good job? I know you were going to law school and so you know what, this isn't for me. How does somebody make that decision between like, do I go all in on my side hustle and abandon this thing? Or where is that balance if there is one?
So it's a tough call because, everybody's in different situations. And when you have a very solid job and, a lot of people enjoy their jobs, and not everybody's meant to be an entrepreneur. Like, this world is not meant to be a world where 100% of people are these risk-taking entrepreneurs. Like, we're meant to have people all over the map. And that's the beautiful thing about this world, is that we're all different. Just like, I have 1.1 million monthly listens on my podcast. I don't have 9 billion monthly listens on my podcast, because there's not every single person in the world who even cares or wants to hear about the content on my show, because it's not for them. And that's great. And so you need to just really kind of come to this reckoning of like, what is it that you want? What is it that you need? And there's a lot to be said for having a side hustle that's bringing in a few extra $1,000 that allows you to live this amazing life, doing more traveling, buying more things if that's what you want to do, having more experiences, giving more to charity and philanthropy, and continuing to have that steady, solid job that you're also happy with and you're changing the world with in your own kind of small way. It's really has to be, what is it that your heart is singing to you? And for me, I just knew with finality, with certainty, I was never going to be able to stay in my corporate job and living in the cubicle. I was never going to be able to be a lawyer and have to go to an office every day in a suit and tie and, do that thing. I just was never going to be able to do those things because that just wasn't me. And that's honestly what my book is all about, is like, let's get your big idea. Like, let's really, for the first time, maybe sit down and identify what makes your heart sing and what sets you on fire. And maybe, hey, that's what you're already doing. And then good, like you can maybe double down on that and be happy knowing that you're on the right path. Or maybe it is going to be something where you need to take a completely big shift, big pivot, big adjustments, and go all in on something that kind of scares you, because, all the magic in this world happens outside of your comfort zone. So whether that's your side hustle or that's something you can go all in on, you've got to get outside of your comfort zone.
You mentioned that part in your book about the things that people are passionate about and then aligning that with your expertise. I think that's a huge gap most people will take. They go either or. And you do a really good job explaining of why it needs to be both. Was there anything along your journey that you started to align these and all of a sudden it clicked and say, aha, I found the silver bullet?
Yeah, it was really back in 2012 when I was 32 years old, and I was reading books, and especially the biographies, and learning how people kind of found their magic, found their thing. And I said, oh, that's how they did it. Like, they were all super passionate about the thing. Like, let's just say it was flying. They loved flying. And then they also realized that, hey, I've actually got a good head for business. And so I can go, there's actually a book that I'm reading right now. It's called The Gambler, where this guy learns, he's, hey, I'm great at math right now. So he, was able to go to like countries in South America and buy these junky planes, fix them up a little bit, fly them back to California, finish fixing them up, and then sell them for ridiculous profits. And it was all like this combination of things that he was good at, that he had value in the world, which was arbitrage and numbers and math, and something he was passionate about, which was planes and flying. And it was just like one of those stories, but there's millions of those stories. It kind of tipped me off by being like, oh, if you're just passionate about something, like that's a hobby. And like, that's a good thing to have if you want to have a hobby, but it's probably not going to be the thing that makes you rich. And then just something that you're great at or you have expertise in for any number of reasons, just that alone, that's not going to be enough either, because you're going to wake up a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, and you're going to get burned out because you're not going to be doing something you have any joy or passion in. So it has to be a combination of these things. That's the sweet spot.
And one of the things you mentioned, and this is probably one of my favorite podcast or favorite things about podcasts, is you have the opportunity to just talk to so many other people. How much has that contributed to your knowledge set and just growing your all over understanding of business knowledge or seeing opportunity?
So listen, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And when I was interviewing Tony Robbins, Gary Vaynerchuk, Barbara Corcoran, Tim Ferriss, Michael Hyatt, like fill in the blank of just all these amazing people, these are the people I was spending the most time with. And then I was going to conferences and hanging out with them, and we were going to dinners and just continuing to, and I was just like, my average was just shooting up through the roof. And you start to see what's possible and what's, exciting in this world. And again, you just start to see what's possible when you surround yourself with the right people. And that's what you do via a podcast. Like right now, you and I are hanging out. Like I'm part of your 5 right now, for better or for worse. Hopefully you think it's for better.
Definitely
And like,
for the better.
that's, why I end every one of my podcast episodes, by the way, by saying, hey, Fire Nation, you've been hanging out with JLD and Doug today. So keep up that heat, because I want people to realize that there's choices they're making every day, who to hang out with. And if they're choosing to hang out with Debbie Downers and Don Doolittles, that's going to be their average. But if they're choosing to read a book that's an amazing biography, they're hanging out with that person. Like I'm hanging out with this guy, the gambler, right now, and I'm going on my walks with my dog every day, and I'm hearing his life story. Like I'm hanging out with him when I'm interviewing people, when I'm listening to interviews, when I'm doing all these things. Like my average is going up for the obvious reasons we just talked about. And so that's just a beautiful thing about the world that we live in now, is that like I'm in Puerto Rico, you are in someplace that's not Puerto Rico. And
just outside Toronto. It is cold.
and guess what? It's like we're in the same room. I mean, not temperature wise, because it's 82 degrees here right now, and it is every single day. But it's just one of those things where this is an amazing opportunity that's, we have available to us to hang out with essentially who we want to hang out with.
Now, you've had some pretty crazy experiences throughout your life, like entrepreneurial, even before 32, when you were on your journey. how much did just the journey of life that you were on, that you're still on, contribute to helping you find and hone your zone of fire?
It was everything because it just made me realize that, everything that I do is bringing me either closer or putting me further away from the life that I want. And everything that I do is also giving me a taste of the things that I actually want and don't want. And so that's why you've just got to embrace the present moment. Like I love to tell people, don't be a time traveler. Like, don't be stressed about the future all the time. And don't be worried about the future all the time because now you're never thinking in the moment. You're always thinking about the future that may or may not ever happen. And don't begrudge or bemoan the past because you can't change it, number one. And again, you're missing the present moment. And I love the Tony Robbins quote, which is, so many people overestimate what they can do in a year, but they underestimate what they can do in a decade. In a decade, you can get so much done. I mean, it is unbelievable what my last decade has looked like. And it's just a tribute to what one decision can make.
I'm so glad you made that decision to start your podcast because I can tell you, I know that it's had a massive impact on my life, let alone the millions of others. And before we get to the final question, what is the best place for people to follow you and buy your book?
uncommonsuccessbook.com. I've interviewed over 3,000 of the world's most successful entrepreneurs. Those thousands and thousands of hours of conversations of me learning from the world's most successful entrepreneurs, I put into a 17-step roadmap to financial freedom and fulfillment. So if you want your version of uncommon success, if you want financial freedom and fulfillment, uncommonsuccessbook.com. Go check out our endorsements by Gary Vaynerchuk, Seth Godin. You get the first chapter for free there. Learn more about the book. I'd love it.
I will make sure I put all of those in the show notes, send it on email and throughout my social media channels. The final question I have for you today is, what is the one piece of advice or lesson you can share with the listeners to inspire them to find happiness in their pursuits?
It's an Albert Einstein quote. Try not to become a person of success, but rather a person of value. If you're getting up every day and you're finding ways to become a person of value, you will win. Because what people want in this world is the best solution to a real problem that they're having. And when you can provide value in the world, you will find a way and you will become the best valuable solution to a real problem that they're having, and you'll win.
John, this was awesome and right on time. I really appreciate everything you've done and the fire you bring to the world. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Doug. Take care, brother.
You too. See you, man. Thank you.